Welcome to PHALL Memories podcast. I am Lance, or Jelly, or Prince, as most PHALL people know me. And my co-host is Philip, or Any, or NFL, as most PHALL people know him. And both of us are from Calbeck Avenue. Our mission on this podcast series is to explore how PHALL, a small community in the Kingston 20 area, surrounded by Joesland, just across Washington Boulevard, Marvalley, Trucks Garden, or Francis Land as I know it, Arlene Garden, Patrick City, just across the Sandy Gully, became the epicenter of football or soccer for some people in Jamaica in the early 1970s. PHALL was also home of some of the most legendary musicians and entertainers of that era. I was still going to PHALL Primary when every single Sunday a triple header was played at the original ball ground at the intersection of Calbeck Avenue, PHALL Drive, now Kennel Drive. One morning match and two evening match was played to a capacity crowd. These teams, Patosi Rovers, Carawina, Asphalt, Covey, El Furto, and Dreads, was joined by Marvalley UNN to play in the PHALL Corner League football tournament. And every baller in Jamaica at the time wanted to play in a PHALL Corner League to showcase them skills as the first officially organized Corner League football tournament in Jamaica. In this conversation, we hope to capture the memories of players, supporters, and any members of the PHALL community, male or female, who want to come and share their stories. Your feedback and support will be greatly appreciated on whatever social media platform you might be listening, and thanks in advance. Today is Sunday, September 18, 2022. Welcome back to another conversation about PHALL memories. Me as usual, Lance, or Prince, or Jelly, and any one of those names will do. My co-host today, rejoining me back, is Philip, or Any Fowl, and any one of those names will do for him too. Both of the guests today, I think, were both born in PHALL. We can clarify the status as we get into the conversation. And that would mean that for the first time since we started doing this conversation, both of these guests have the honor of being the first to come to share their PHALL memories without having need to provide any green cards or papers to clarify the PHALL authenticity. No green card necessary. One live on
no visa.
No green card or visa is required from these men. Them are what them call them? Birthright citizen of PHALL.
Exactly.
One live on the PHALL. Yeah. One live on my side of PHALL on Pontypont Avenue. Yeah. And the other live on the 3-bedroom side of PHALL at Annandale Avenue. And there's some history between the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom houses in PHALL. And now man might remember that, and we get into that.
All right.
They both attended PHALL Primary with my good friend Andy Walters, and what I'm sure both of them remember. But both of these men are here to tell their story. So without further ado, Carlton, Dan, and him give nickname Dan Froggy Daley, and him have to tell me how that go. And Norman, introduce yourself. And you first, Carlton, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, everybody. And I'm a true son of PHALL. I was actually the year I was talking to my mother, and she told me that the year before they moved to PHALL, my parents were living in Maxi by Walton Park, Maxwell, and they heard about this new development being built. So they actually went to PHALL, looked at the plan, and they chose the house on the avenue on Pontypont. Mm-hmm. And they said they have to wait, like I think it was almost like 14 months before the house built and everything, before they actually moved in.
Okay.
So my parents were actually thinking about moving to PHALL even before PHALL was even built as yet.
Officially, yeah.
Yeah, officially.
And what year was that? What year was that, Carlton?
I think it was right after they married. They married in 1962, so I think it was early 1963.
Oh, so they had to wait a little while before the house was finished.
Yeah, it was just a scheme they were planning, and it was just the bottom part, the Beverly Hills side where Norman them come from, never built yet.
Yeah. You'll get to that. Norman, introduce yourself, brother.
Yeah. Sorry, so I'm Norman Hemming, and I'm born in PHALL, and I didn't live in the Beverly Hills side. Our house was a simple little house, 86 Annandale Avenue. It's still there. It's funny, when you're a child, it always looks so big to you. In fact, I used to tell my children, I was in a big house in PHALL, and then I took them back to Jamaica. and them and my wife, them nearly kill me. Them laugh.
But the reason, the reason behind that they are coming from a place where everything is done in a large way.
True, so true.
Yes, because in America that's how it is. Everything you go overboard.
Yeah.
So, but I think but my both my parents have passed away now. But they told us when we were young that we were one of the first. We were one of the first people built on Annandale Avenue in Pembroke Hall. So we were one of the first people there. That I know, and I know our neighbors initially were the Shirleys. The Shirleys were across the street, and then directly across from us was the Gordons, and then we had the Small Horns that lived on our right, and the Bennetts lived on our left, and those were like everybody they were like family. Any of their parents could beat you a little bit,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Phil, introduce back yourself, my brother.
Yes, welcome back, everyone, to another Pembroke Hall Memories podcast. And this Sunday, September the 19th, it is? 18th. I think. 18th rather.
Yeah.
And I'd like to welcome our guests, Norman and Daley. I want to welcome you both. Hope to learn a lot of interesting things from you guys today.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So Carlton, you say you were born in Pembroke, and I say you have the status, and I'm going to start with you first because I appreciate you're the one. You and I talk first, and you introduced me to Norman and said, "Why both of you can come on," and we get into the history of that. So most of the questions I'm going to start with you first. Where memories of Pembroke? Are you had any older brothers and sisters, or it was you alone?
Come from a big family. My dad had 9 children. Two of my sisters passed recently. But it was but it was weird because there were different times when almost all of us lived in the same house. And I remember, my parents actually had to build a second bathroom and a back porch to accommodate everybody in the house. And I remember my mom actually got carpet in the house. And everybody said, well, you reach a carpet. And the only reason why I had carpet in the house was so me, my cousin, and everybody remember my name, Wayne Pinot. They used to call him Bigger. And my big brother, Teddy. So we could have sleep on the ground, on the carpet.
That's your bed.
That was our bed. Because everybody couldn't work. It was only, I think it was like 3 bedroom. My parents had a room, and then the sister. And then my 2 sisters had like 6 sisters. So everybody was in the 2 room.
Yeah, so what order you were in the pecking order in terms of what number you were?
So my father had 6 kids before I was born. Okay. So I was the first child for my mother. Okay. And then some of you know my sister Melanie, and then my younger brother Kurt. And actually today I have to give him a hello because today is actually his birthday.
Okay.
But growing up in Pembroke Hall was amazing because it was weird. I had 2 neighbors on either side named Waite. Mary Waite and her husband Dave, but the other side was Billy Waite. Everybody remember Ronald Waite, and then Billy did change his name to Wabunga. And I remember.
Yeah, somebody talked about that earlier. Yes.
Yeah, man. And I gave everybody a name. I think my name was Kasavuvu or Daley or something. But I remember he was like the first, like the role model I had. He used to help me with the maths homework and everything.
Yeah.
And talk about school. And like Norman said, I remember. Pembroke was interesting because right behind us was the Taff with Lincoln, Taff, and Dave.
Yeah.
Right behind us. And one door down was Miss McBean, and Miss McBean had like 8 children. And there's some time when all the children get bad and all the 3 mother beat all the children all at the same time. My greatest memory is that I used to live 5 houses away from Pembroke Hall Primary.
You walk
not
down 5, the road, yeah.
Yeah, so not 5 blocks. I actually could have waited at my house and hear the first bell and then start walking to school for the second bell. And I remember teacher used to send me home to get ice and thing for them from the house. And it's interesting because I was thinking about me and Norman are friends like 52 years now. Because you and I were met in like in 1971. And it was 4 of us. It was me and Norman sit on one bench, and then Norman had a good friend named Perez Cross, and we had another friend named Paul Robinson. And two were a little bit chunkier. we never have to share because the other people them we should say 3 to a bench, but we sat 2 to a bench.
Yeah. I hear you.
So, and then, but we used to go. I remember eventually Norman and Perez and I used to eat lunch at my house. We would take them down to school, and that was the thing. So we used to have a really, really good bond. Pembroke Hall was amazing. The only thing I remember, what the funniest thing I think about was Miss Campbell, the headmistress, and how terrified of that woman even to today.
Yes.
I had the same fear, Carlton. I remember she stand up beside me one day and called to another student, and I think run up to my back like a lightning because it's a fearful hour. You're right.
Yeah. Well, she had a very imposing figure, you know. So yeah. So whenever you look at her, it's like looking at a general in the army.
Yeah. She had a very, very imposing figure. I feel right about that. And before I come to you now, man, Carlton, that story you talk about, 9 and living at my house at Pembroke at Calbeck Avenue. I still live at 66 Calbeck Avenue. I just don't know how a 2-bedroom. That side was a 2-bedroom side, and when I moved from Pembroke 64, it's about 8 hours live at the house. It was
man.
So I don't remember how we sleep. I just I know.
Well, yes, you know, a lot of us came with that situation, but that just is a testimony to how good the family life was. Like we never see anything as a problem. Because even though it was a situation where the space was small and it was a lot of us, somehow we managed to get along without much issues. It's not like today.
It never come like
most people in a situation like that today, it's gonna lead to problems.
Yeah. So now, man. So we are first memory of Pembroke. You're born at Pembroke. Was it how many brothers and sisters you have and?
So 6 of us biologically for our parents, and then our parents adopted 4 others who really are our cousins, but we didn't know. We didn't know they were our cousins until my eldest brother, Peter, well, his real name is Easton, when he graduated from med school at UA. I went to the graduation and I was looking through the pamphlet and I couldn't find his name. And I whispered to my mom, I said, "Oh, Peter don't graduate, mom, his name not in here." And she said, he's a fool. She said, name Easton. Is Easton his name? That's his real name. But you know, in Jamaica, everybody have a nickname. So I didn't know. But one of the best things that I remember about Carlton, though, from those days is his house was so near to the school and we used to have lunch there. But his house was also almost across the street from Mr. Potosi's shop.
From Mr.
Lindsay's shop on Potosi Avenue, right? And so it was a good place to go to buy things, to buy sweetie and them type of thing, right?
Because at the gate of Pembroke,
exactly. At Pembroke Primary, outside the gate, though, you could get the socks, so you could buy sock, and then the guy was there selling the shirt. You remember?
Yeah.
And all that. And then, go ahead.
Asham.
And then at lunch hour, we used to walk, we used to cut through that, you know, the open lot right beside the school and walk through Marvel and go to Pete's party.
Yes.
You know, and then we used to get beaten. I don't remember that. In fifth grade with Mrs. Scott. Mrs. Scott lined up the whole class with Peter's room to sneak out and got to buy Pete's party. So those are some of my memories. The person that he mentioned, Perez Cross, though, Lance and Philip, is Perez Cross. His parents are from Cuba. They lived at 177 Pembroke Drive, which is actually the backyard for 86 Allendale Avenue. Okay. So I would jump my back fence to go over to his house. He would jump the fence to come to me. And we used to get beaten from our parents all the time for that. Them just only dog jump fence. Right? So both of our parents used to beat us for that, right? But they were such a good family. His sister went to St. Hugh's, Lorraine Cross, and she was head girl at St. Hugh's at one point. And parents played tennis for Woolmans. Yeah. Sorry. I know, too many memories.
No, man, we'll get to that, man. No worries.
Right. But if I could tell one other thing. So my father was kind of a jerk. Unlike Carlton's father, who was because Carlton them was like smutty, right? Yeah. Because Carlton Daley, his dad was the head of owned Daley Automotive. So I remember even my parents said, "Boy, you've really mixed up in good company now. You're progressing in life." Right? But I remember my dad, Perez, we used to have to hide Perez and Lorraine in the closet. When daddy come home and blow on the horn, and you have to run out and open the gate. because it's not coming out to open the gate, right? So the chair would have to run out to open the gate. And didn't want to see anybody in his house. So we used to hide Perez and Lorraine in the closet. And then when them go to his room, they would let them out and go jump the back fence to let them go. Sorry. Too many. It's just too many memories. Sorry. Go ahead.
So Carlton, before we go on, I want to ask you a question because you told me a nickname. Where you get that nickname from? Is it Dan or Dan Froggy or both of them?
So my nickname is Lindan. So family used to call me Dan, and somehow I think it was Michael Tolan and them changed it to Dan.
That's a Beck.
Beck, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then when I went to Calabar, I don't know what happened, but one of them boys, I don't know, one time I think I had something like a nasal infection. I was breathing through my mouth, and the guy said, "Why mouth open?" I said, "Me I catch some flies." And the guy said, "Oh, you have one frog?" And he just stick.
And it just stuck.
He just stuck to frog, to froggy, to so even my little brother used to call him tadpole. So it does stick, yeah. But one of the things I need to tell my mother would be very prone that I was actually according to my mother, I was the first student name at the register for Pembroke Infant Center. So I actually went to Pembroke Infant Center back. I think I started in 1960. I think it was like 1967. And actually some of my good friends, they're like Deanne Thompson. I think she's a lawyer now. She was there. She was there. A good friend passed away. A guy named Ansel Archibald. He went to Calabar and Pembroke Infant Center Calabar with me. He passed away in England. Used to call him Abba. A guy named Derek Mitchell. So a lot of us went to Pembroke Infant Center and then went to Pembroke. One of the funny things I remember
Hold on, Carlton. Don't cut you. You said Derek Mitchell?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. With me and Philip know him good man. So, yeah.
Salvation Army guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen. If he know Andy, he got to know Derek. And Derek is a Calabar film too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So,
but go ahead, Carlton. Sorry
one
about
thing
that.
So the lady who ran the schools, her name was Miss Symes, and I remember one of the things I used to remember. The funniest thing is that anytime Miss Symes' younger brother come to the school, you know you're gonna get vaccination that day. They must have this. The government used to send this big white station wagon with the big red on it. That means everybody that come get them shots that day. So anytime Miss Symes' brother come, we start look out now. And there's this guy named Redverse Johnson. I think Redverse came to Pembroke Primary, and Redverse would run away. Them have to chase him down Pembroke Drive, and as eventually them start take away him shoes. So anytime them take away Redverse shoes, you know the injection will come that day. So
hold on, so I'm afraid of the vaccination so much, Carlton, him have to run?
No, I say him run, gone. The minute him see the big station wagon come in, him take off and gone. So that's why Miss Symes have to bring our younger brother to come to catch Redverse until them couldn't do it no more. The minute them come, they must say, Redverse, let me take off his shoes so you say him couldn't run. And still run in under the socks.
Redverse?
I never know, but he came. I think eventually he came to Pembroke Primary because a lot of us, almost all of us, came to Pembroke Primary from Pembroke Infant Center. But that was it. I remember them shots like the beginning of the school year when all the, I forget them polio shots and all them.
Yeah. But, so you go ahead, Phil. So I get up something to say.
No, I was actually listening to what he was saying, to what Carlton said.
But I'm telling you, Pembroke stayed with us, with our family, because we moved. I'm telling you, how influential Pembroke was to our family. Even after we moved, we moved up to Red Hills, a place called Kirkland Heights. My sister still went to Pembroke for her last year, even though, and my younger brother, Kurt, even though we already moved, he knows him still had to go to Pembroke even after we left. Because we still got my mom, older sister still live in Pembroke for a time. So we used to go there all the time and still stay down there. I even remember when we used to live in Red Hills, sometime when we had power cut, the water used to come down through a pump. So if the light lock off after half an hour, you're not gonna have no water because the pump can't. So eventually, a lot of us used to have to go down to Pembroke to bathe and get ready everything. So Pembroke stayed with us
Yeah,
Because I remember, I think my parents, I never wanted to move. I remember when my parents said they might buy this house. Me and my sister Shirley said, no, we're going in Pembroke. Them can't leave the house up on the hill. And it was hard. I remember because even my parents thought about, it took a while, even before them sold the house, because they were still, Pembroke had been so ingrained in us and such an important part of our lives. Because it's funny today when you hear people talk about role models and all them kind of thing. Almost a lot of the role models and the people I identified with came from Pembroke, like Beckham, Michael Gordon, and Ray, all them guys. And a lot of it came from the guys from Patosi and football.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So now, man, you come from the other side of Pembroke now, as I said, the 3-bedroom side, or as Carlton said, the Beverly Hills side. Did you know any difference at the time? Did you recognize? When me turned big man, I realized there was a difference,
Yeah, I didn't know. I literally did not know that there was a difference, to be honest with you. I thought Pembroke was all the same. To be quite honest, maybe part of it is that people built onto their homes. Yeah. So it was hard to tell if honestly, that the homes were actually, that some of the homes were smaller than some of the others, right?
Yeah.
Because even our house we built onto it, because there were so many of us living there.
Yeah.
And still it was a space. I remember one of the things that really shocked me when I was in the fifth grade with Mrs. Scott, who perhaps is the most influential teacher in my life to this day.
Yeah, she taught me too. Yes, she taught me.
Yeah, I mean, she was just, because she told each of us that we were special, we were unique, and that there was nothing we could accomplish that we couldn't accomplish.
Yeah.
With our life. So I didn't realize at the time she was just telling all the students that. I thought she was telling just me. So I said, oh wow, I felt good about myself. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about Pembroke that really sticks in your mind is that I didn't realize that I was poor living in Pembroke.
No.
And unlike Carlton, our parents couldn't afford to bring us up to Red Hills. We stayed in Pembroke when we left the vehicle. Seriously, right? So it was, but and growing up though, those are the fondest memories that I ever had. I remember our neighbor, the neighbor immediately to our right, Mr. Smallhorn. He ran a butcher shop in Marvally. But he would do some of the butchering at home. I know in America today people would go crazy with that, right? Because
the laws. The inspector upon him, yeah.
Seriously. That was the first time I ever saw somebody drinking blood. Was with Mr. Smallhorn. Because he would kill the goat or kill a cock and he would drink the blood and say, oh, this is the best thing. You want some now, man? And I said, no. No blood for me. It was the first time I even knew about things like that. And then they would cut off the scrotum of the goat and they would fry it up. And it tastes like egg. Right? It tastes like egg when they fry it up there. But whatever. So I just had so many fond memories of Pembroke. Everything about Pembroke for me was just pleasant and good. Obviously, my memory was bad because I thought it was big. I thought all the houses were big. But it's but it was just, it's the best time of my life, I can tell you.
Not to cut you now, man, but that's what I keep telling everyone is like, you were saying that you didn't realize you were poor, but I think that speaks to the camaraderie of the communities. Like, everybody got along and everybody was so happy. Like, you didn't even see any negativity. It was just a joy, just being a child and growing up in Pembroke. The community was free of violence, so your parents could allow you, to go back and forth from your friend's house, and we could all get along and have a good time and just enjoy life and be kids. Whereas a lot of people didn't have that luxury.
Seriously, Philip. Can I ask a question? Because I'm confused also. Pembroke Infant Center, that's not the same as the home school for when you're a little bit before you go to Pembroke Primary. Because I went to like somebody's house and it's on our veranda.
I was going to ask, where exactly was that now? I was going to ask you about that because my experience is different than Carlton one. But tell me your experience.
Yes, I don't know if it's the same place Carlton went, because ours was right before you got to Washington Boulevard. Where you have Old Bible Church. It's just where I went to church, right there.
Yeah, the road.
But it's like one of the last streets nearby where Sharon, what's her name? Sharon Hamilton used to live.
Anglesey, that was.
Yeah, that's where I went in terms of preschool.
That's a basic school, basic school.
Is that Pembroke Infant Center?
No, man, Pembroke Infant Center.
What that was is like the one that was on Colbeck Avenue, almost in front of Miss Foster.
Okay. So the one I went was... Yeah.
You had like 2 to 6 year old, or like
but
from
I'm gonna tell
yeah.
you my experience about that. I went to school. I went to school up Clydesdale Avenue, and she was a teacher primary called primary. She taught after our lady named Miss McLaren. She died about 2-3 years ago. And I went. I think it's a basic school. Well, all I would know this. It's a kitchen barber. I said the basic.
Yeah. I went to kitchen barber.
I know the kitchen barber on Primacall Drive.
Yeah.
But the basic school I went to is like the lady at the basic school right at veranda. There's Miss McLaren just up the road beside Potter Twaits them. I don't know Potter Twaits, the Twaits them. So that's where I went to basic school. And just like I said, Phil, and then I left and go Primacall Primary because I couldn't start primary at age 2 or 3. But you could have got a basic school. So I think it's something similar now, man, I talk about. So,
that's what I remember. And why I have such vivid memories of it is because I remember it was like very rough, because I remember I went on, this is terrible to talk about this, right? But I did a BM on myself. And so what they did at that basic school was the lady put me on her garden, and she turned on the garden hose and made me strip down, and she just washed me off with the garden hose. And I remember that my mother was so angry that she had done that to me. But I guess it was just weird. It was a weird... So I was like, I don't think that was Primacall Infant Center, because that's so professional. But this was like a weird school.
That's so like she can't go home there, yard, called... That's why my mother's upset. Because she said, where she can't go.
And there was somebody else living near to the school who went to that school with me, Baron Brissett, who still lives in Jamaica, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. And then Carlton mentioned Michael Tolan. Well, get this. You would never believe this. Do you know who I live across the street from? Rowan Tolan, Michael's older brother. So all of us work in Primacall. Come to America, we can't get it from them.
Yeah. So today you have one of your relative, really? Yeah.
Wild. So Michael Tolan comes over there all the time, you know. For them have a lot of parties, them always park on lawn. But no, don't mention that on the ear. I love them. It's good. It's good.
You won't call the authorities on them. I won't do that.
All right, so now the Primacall Infant Center was actually started by the Methodist Church.
That's the one that you went. That's the one that you went, Carlton.
Yeah.
He went to fancy school.
Exactly. Big shot school in my hand. Exactly.
No, and it's funny because my mother said that I think she was at some place. I think she was at, I think it was actually Mr. Runce's shop one day. And she was this, and it was actually a white Englishman there. And she was talking to her, and I was with her. And and the man said, we'll start in a school at the Methodist Church. She said, what kind of school? Almost like a basic school. And she said, okay.
A pre-K, them would call it that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it started. And it's funny because the school was very, very close to Norman.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that I think is one of the things. Primacall had a lot of I just a pre-K or preschool institution, but a lot of them were located in the house.
Yeah, man.
The veranda are in the backyard.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it showed the entrepreneurial spirit of Primacall people, and for so much school about the place. Because I talk about one. Which school you went to, Phil? You remember the pre-K you went to?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I had Primacall Primary at the first school I got. Okay. I never had that luxury of going to preschool.
Did you know that there was a Roman Catholic church in Primacall as well? In fact, that Methodist church that Carlton is referring to, they had Catholic services there. In fact, because my mom was a Roman Catholic, and that's where she worshipped. There was Roman Catholic at some point in the day, and then it became Methodist, but it was owned by the Methodists. Isn't that wild?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, man, I'm aware of that. But Andy, I know more detail about that. Look, I think Andy know, and I think they were Roman Catholic too. The Woods who live on Primacall Drive.
Yes.
I think they're Roman Catholic. And I think one of them was ambassador to the UK. The older one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they were Roman Catholic, but I'm aware of that. I didn't go to that church, but I know it was like it played a double role. The Methodists at some time of the day, and then Roman Catholic at another
Wild.
time. But when I get hand up on the program, he will explain that to me. Because I know them good, and he went to the church and everything good, and they know all that.
And Prince, what other thing you talk to about anything that not only entrepreneur, but how important education was to the parents and people in Pembroke. Education was a serious. I remember is one thing you couldn't do in my house, was give trouble at school. Because I remember my father beating my sister for falling asleep in school. Because it comes to the time, because if you think about the men, our fathers' age, them come through the time when it's the first time people looking like them and go to high school.
Yeah.
They realize that the barrier for them to get out of poverty was education.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So they took school very, 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 very seriously. And it was, because I remember I took common interest. I think I was a little bit older than Norman in 4th grade. I remember I used to go to, I think Miss Downey was my teacher. So I went to extra class after her. And then after that, I used to walk over Patrick Street and a lady named Miss Walker and do extra classes then. Yes. So school was very, very important. And I remember, it's funny because I remember one day, I think it was after common interest or something like that. I'm out on the road playing, and some of the big boys them say, "Hey, you finish your homework?" I say, "No, man." Them say, "No, man, you can't come out and play until you finish your homework."
Mm-hmm.
So even then, the role model, the guy them who realized that school was important. You need to make sure that you do schoolwork first before any playing and anything like that before.
That's a community should be.
Yeah. You get reinforcement from your peers then.
Yeah, man. And one thing I realized now, looking at it now, is that, which is very interesting now, I seen it now that Pembroke at the time was, unlike a lot of places, a lot of fathers were living at home.
Yes.
And the father thing was very, very important. Like everybody, it was weird to see a lady who didn't have a father, a family didn't have a father.
That is so
Even them have a father, and that was, so you had a lot of men, grown men.
That is so true.
And that was so important. Even if, because I remember, like you see, the father, them, even if them don't have a car, you see them coming home from work, and the same thing, and all the parents are on the one message. How are you doing in school? Because that was the first question. And the first question is how you doing. The next question is how school going.
And I say, Carlton, you just use the right word. In those times, there were a lot of parents. Unlike now, where it's mostly mothers and fathers.
A difference in terms of that.
Yeah, that's a difference between then and now. The parent is very few. Yes. A lot of mothers and fathers, but very few parents, and that's why the kids today are different.
And it's one thing is so true, our parents weren't trying to be our friend and talk to you about our friend. No, them was your parents first. And there's no distinction. And in our house, because I had so much older siblings, there was like a buffer. It's like a big brother and big sister were like parent help model you. And I remember the most frightful word was, "Do wait until your father come home." Because my father my father beat me 4 times in my life. And I remember every one of them like today. And my father I when him beating, him a beating for accumulated beating you get, things happened 2 years before.
Right.
Him bringing your account up to date.
One of the strange things to Lance and Philip and Carlton is I didn't realize our house was so crowded with people because it was more than just the children there. There had an uncle there, Uncle Tony and Aunt Leonie, who also came and lived with us as well. And I remember being in class and the teacher asked, what is a family? Describe the members of the family. And I said, my mother, my father, my sisters, my brother, Uncle Tony, Aunt Leonie. And she beat me. And she said, no, you're a fool. The family is a nuclear family. It's the mother, the father, and the children. And so that thing just totally shocked me because I thought this was natural for people. Everybody had them Uncle Tony and them Aunt Leonie living in the house with them. Yeah. But apparently that was something novel.
No, right? it wasn't novel now, man. Because for me, that was the same thing. I can't. In my house, I can't always have the uncle and auntie live there with me, man. From both sides. On both sides. From the father side and the older side. Yeah.
I know she was trying to teach us a nuclear family, but it really disturbed me because I was like, no, this is my family. She don't know what she's talking about.
No, you know what I think? Maybe she never live in a Pembroke. That's all I can say.
Yeah, but Lance, she's speaking a family in a literal sense. She's speaking a family in a realistic sense, in that the reality in his house is that it's more than just mother, father, and kids. There are also aunts and uncles.
Exactly. she had did it in a sense where it's like now one did it in a not in a legal sense, but in a real sense.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's a legal term. I think there's de jure or I forget, but I'm not no legal person.
Yeah, she was dealing with de jure, and I was dealing with de facto.
Right, exactly. Thank you now.
Right.
Thank you now, man. I know you're the legal expert here, so yeah.
No.
I know you're not correct, mate.
No. But listen, I went into law only because I wasn't good at math or science. Unlike Carlton, who actually teaches those areas at the university level. I was good at it. So the poor people, the people who didn't do good in math and science, they went to law.
Okay.
That's how we put it.
All right, so let me tell you now.
That is an honorable thing, though, because law requires a lot of reading, and a lot of us don't like to read.
Wow,
So.
true. That's true. That is true too.
Yeah.
That is true.
Let me tell you, I was good at maths until them put in them damn letters. Because
You mean the Roman numeral them?
no, man, when we saw the algebra and x to the y and
Algebra.
Yeah, the algebra and them thing there. Yes.
Yeah, Pythagoras theory and all those crap.
Yeah.
once I got over a logarithms, I couldn't do nothing else. So
Yeah. I hear you.
but it's funny because me and Prince, because I don't know if you know that me and Prince went to UWI together, and Prince Prince was a history major. I was history for the first year, then I did mass comm. And it's funny because I actually teach American history at Miami-Dade College now, which is funny. Because I must say, Jamaican, I teach American history, but...
Yeah, we learned that at UWI, yes, I remember that. You remember the teacher who taught us there?
What name? August?
No, the one that taught us American history. Maybe she didn't teach you. It was an American lady. August taught us European history.
European history. The guy who taught me American history was a guy named Neville Hall. I think he passed.
Oh, yeah, I know about teaching. So a lady who I think is almost like she was a CIA plant. Her name was Laura Guns. Because she wrote a book afterwards, after she left, named Born for Dead. And she was talking about the shower posse, and it's almost like information she had, and I said, she knows that she's a UL lecturer, but she taught me American history. She wrote a book afterwards.
It's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny because I had a TV professor at UWI named Ted Page. They used to call him Ted the Bagman Page. And I think he was also like a CIA agent, so because it was funny. But there was days in Jamaica, so yeah.
Yeah, man, them come in as what them call them? What the workers them name again? When them come in as Peace Corps workers. Peace Corps workers them come in on a cover. But so hold on, so I grew up in a Permacal now, and then two and go Permacal primary together. So I ask you something now, man. You walk from all the way up at the top of Annandale Avenue. Right?
Yeah.
And come all the way up. You never have no problems because that's a thing you notice when you watch. I never have the problem with them. I never walk too far like Carlton to go to school. Because I'm just up the road. I skip and I jump from Calbeck Avenue, Patos, and reach at the school. Yeah. But I never have no problem. Nobody touch me or say nothing or a bully at school. You never have no issue at all. I walk all the way from up there if I come to school.
No, the only issue was a bad dog then. I remember the bad dog.
Yes, I have a story about that to say. Yes.
So what would happen when the bad dog attacked us? Because Perez was tall and lanky. He would run away and leave me. The dog then would chew me up.
Yeah.
And I was fat. I couldn't run. Right? But I remember the bad dog. But so we started walking with sticks. And we used to hit them. But I remember this one guy, when we did hit him dog, I know I guess we can't talk about hitting dogs because America now we have to love dogs and we love them. Right? So, but I remember the guy saying, I don't know what him said to me. And Carlton said to me, you know what? Make us call him Baggy Raper. We had no idea what that meant.
I mean, the dog you call him that?
Baggy Raper. And the boy come to my house and tell my mother, and my mother beat me in front of him. She beat me. She said, well, you know what, Baggy Raper? And I had no idea what it meant. I was like, but it just sounded bad. And Carlton and Teresa was saying, so I said it. But it was just too funny. It was too funny. Permacal is just the craziest place.
Yeah,
I got beaten to because of Sharon Hamilton. Because Sharon Hamilton said that I stuck her with a pencil. But I stuck her with the pencil after she marked up my little exercise book. Mm-hmm. She did mark up an exercise book. I'm going to stick her with the pencil. And then her mother came to the house. And my mother beat me. My father beat me. And then Miss May, you remember Miss May, Carlton? Yeah, Miss May used to live with us as well. That was somebody else besides the uncle, right? used to live with me. Miss May beat me as well. And then when them finished beat me, them say, so why did you stick out with the pencil? I said, because she mark up my exercise book. And then they beat me again and say, you too fool. Why you make us beat you when she did something wrong to you? So all of them beat me again. It was just so weird. But listen, I wouldn't do that to my kids. I didn't do that. But it's just weird how we grow up, right? Tough and rough, right? Because anybody could beat you for anything. And still we turned out okay. So God was merciful to us.
Yeah, because so you saw me, it's like when you go, my mother and father has asked me, like, what could you have done to prevent this from happening? That was the question me get asked all the while. I'm not sitting with the person doing, what do you do?
True. Yes.
That's the question. I mean, take that to me right throughout my life. I try to teach that to my kids, and I say, yeah, what you can do for make sure this never happen again. So that's what so you never had no problem at all then in terms of say a walk from because it's a far walk. It never looked far to you.
No, but it was far. Yeah, it was a far. It didn't look far. Cause we talked the whole way. Me and parents talked the entire way. You know.
Yeah, man.
And so it was good.
That's a good walk, man.
Nance,
go ahead.
You have to remember, you had people walking from even Patrick City come to Pembroke Primary and doing the park.
Yeah, that is true.
Because my best friend in primary school live in Brook Valley.
So doing the park, walk
from Brook Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
Not only that, there are people who walk from UN then Pembroke Primary. People who walk from Queensbury. So when we walking along Pembroke Drive, and then turning off to get down to Pembroke Primary. We weren't walking the farthest distance, so we were the us team good.
Yeah.
These people from UN then, right? They're crazy. They're looking for them walking.
It's funny because just like I remember in the mornings when I went to Calabar, my father would drop us off sometime. A lot of times we used to walk from Pembroke to Calabar and walk back home.
Wow. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I used to walk from Meadowbrook to Pembroke, so I know you that, but that was the regular walk for me.
You usually have a group of friends saying that you alone just walk.
No, it's never you alone. Never you alone. That's the key with them thing. Never you, even though not a lot of Meadowbrook people call live at Pembroke like Calabar people. It was like it was never you alone walk at all. That is true. But let me ask you something, Carlton. I mentioned somebody's name. I mentioned two names already. I say well-known Patosi Rovers football players. Them Beck, Michael Tolan. I mentioned Lincoln Taft, 6A. And them man, they used to play upon the ball, a triangle field. You never get interested in football. At what age you started playing or what age you started watching?
I started watching from I was young because, and it's funny you mentioned that because I remember my cousin Wade Pinnock, bigger. He used to play football, and a lot of the guys they used to come on. So like Brody, Gilbert Chang. Because I remember the year when Calabar lost in the finals, Tivoli. 3/4 the defense, 70s. Gilbert Chang, Vincent Riley, and Norman Nicholson all came from Pembroke.
Yes, Norman, come and talk about that. Yes, the year in the Blues. Yeah.
So, man. So Calabar and football was just, so I used to watch, but then I didn't start playing really until Michael Beck started a team called Little Stars.
Yeah.
And we used to practice at Pembroke at the primary school until one Saturday. I don't know why Miss Campbell come to the school and find the gate open. I said, "What are you boys doing here?" And Beck talks and say, "He said, look, I'm trying to get these young men together and him talk about it's not just football, but school work and Bible study and everything." She said, "Okay, you have an hour."
Real politician.
Yeah, man. But after they couldn't leave, but that was the first time. And I remember him create a little team, and then I remember the first time we actually play a game, we played over in Marvally. Everybody remember this youth named Juan Danzi?
No, it's so familiar.
Was this guy from Marvally, but he only had him like half a hand.
Yeah, man, I know your talk.
Yeah.
I know your talk.
And
like him have a Finan with a card, you have a Finan. That's what I call it.
Yeah, Finan, yeah, man. And we're winning now, and then we don't know something, and then on the team, Beck took about, I remember Vishu.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Vishu was playing a one and Dancy point, use the one and I'm the half a fin, I'm busting the nose. And Vishu knows how and Beck said, "No, we can't do this." And then we walk off and walk back home.
Yeah, that typical Marvel reaction.
Yeah, right. But I tell you,
Pembroke never.
Yeah, man, not at all. But I remember one of my greatest regrets is that I never played corner league for Pembroke for the Patosi. Cause that was like one of my greatest, when I get
dream
big
for
man.
play. Yeah.
Because that was the thing. Cause I remember, going to game like Sunday now. For Saturday used to have the junior corner league or the younger guys who play, and then Saturday. And I remember some of the people I remember like Raleigh Briscoe. That was like the first football baller that me know as like a child. So everybody Raleigh Briscoe. And I remember Pembrokeshire played. I remember the day when there was a big game when House of Dreads they played Pembrokeshire.
Yeah.
And them said Bob Marley was supposed to come play for House of Dreads. I don't think he came, but the field, he couldn't even get to the field where everything
crowd. Yeah.
But I remember a lot of Sunday playing, coming on watching corner league match and the people them selling asham and peanut and sky juice out there, and that was like some of the best days of my life.
Yeah, I want to come back to that, but I want to know if Norman ever get introduced. So, because to me now, football and Pembrokeshire go synonymous, because Pembrokeshire to me, Pembrokeshire found corner league in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Pembrokeshire the foundation. No other community had corner league before Pembrokeshire decided to set it up and do it in a way. So what was the experience like now, man? Because you live to the side of the field, but Annandale, and you have to walk past the field to come down. What was your experience?
Exactly. So I never played I was too big and fat to play. But but I used to watch again and play. And there was actually, and I can't remember her name now, there was a lady who lived across from the Triangle. And she was a friend of my mom's. And so I would go there and would go to her house. I would sit on her veranda and watch what was happening, right? And she would give me bun and cheese. And I remember this was exciting because she used to give me a whole soda. Because at home, I could only, if them had soda in it at all, you could have to share like one soda share for 3 or 4 people. Yeah, but at her house, she gave me a whole soda in a bottle. And I remember I used to love to go to her house. Not only to watch the soccer, but also to get the whole soda. Yeah, but I wasn't very active at first.
And you said triangle now, man. That's the triangle up at the top of Aqualita and Annandale.
The top of Aqualita and Annandale.
Because we had Patuasi and Calmica, there were one triangle too, because that was...
Right in front of the Walter's house.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we played football up there at our triangle at Aqualita and Annandale. Football stadium, and then you walk down to the big field.
Yeah.
What you guys were talking about before, but where the 40 bus stopped. 40 bus. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, no, interesting. Good days.
We had our one triangle too.
I remember. I think she was in the class with us now, man. Claire Walters.
Yes, yeah.
That's Brian's sister.
It was Brian and all of them.
Tennyson sister and Jefferson.
Yeah. I remember we had this back, like all of them, they named Tennyson after a while. Because Tennyson and Brian. But because I remember they were good in sports. Cause I remember one of them went to Meadowbrook to write.
Yeah, man. Jeffrey went to Meadowbrook. Yeah.
And I remember one of them went to GC. I remember them running at champs and
Brian, they were good athletes, man. Excellent athlete, them.
Wow.
So Carlton, quick question. You say you're from Panjapan. Did you know Raymond and Dean Pratt?
Yeah, man. That's who bought our house.
Oh,
okay. Because I think both of them went to Calabar.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you know Mr. Pasco too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And it's funny because Panjapan was a place by itself. One thing I didn't know and I learned later, there was a shoemaker down there towards the end named Mr. Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
And Mr. Hilton is the one who actually, when Marlon Newville ran for Jamaica, the first one, he's actually the one who made her spikes for her.
Really? Yeah?
Yeah, man. And
so she didn't live up from Pembrokeshire?
No, man, but he was a well-known shoemaker. He used to have a shop right over Racecourse near Woolmer's.
Yeah, okay, and he moved from Pembrokeshire.
Yeah, man, but him still shop was down there, and I didn't realize that. I didn't know a shoemaker and a cobbler was different thing. Not only did he actually repair shoes, but he actually made shoes. So he actually made the spikes for her at that time because I think her foot was too small.
Yeah, so it was a special made, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember down the hall, I remember Horace Hall was in her class.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
His father had the van. Look at van.
We used to have buses, like robots. We used to have robots. Yeah. And he went to Arden.
Yeah, and he moved up from the liquor van to a bigger van. Because I remember when I was in Cub Scout, he used to take us to do the Cub Scout thing. Like we went to Eventide home and sing for the people. And then eventually went up to a big van. So the same thing Henny talking about the entrepreneurial spirit of Pembroke. Because I remember, I think when I was in 4th or 5th grade, 3rd or 4th form at Calabar, he's the one who actually went on that class trip to go to Castleton and everything.
Yeah. But it seemed like everybody was in some kind of business. I remember the Shirleys who lived near to us. They did hardware. They had like hardware store and stuff. And all the boys worked in there. I mean, it wasn't everybody around us they were in business. The Richards were involved in the tire in making tires, right? They had the plant in St. Thomas.
Yeah,
I forgot the name of it now, right? I mean, so it's like everybody was in business except for us. My mother worked for the government, right? Right. But my dad, he wasn't in business for himself, but he used to
but it's fun. But one of the things that I remember was that my mother was a nurse, and I think my mother used to deliver children anywhere from Pembroke to Hugh and then to Patrick, because they used to call her nurse. And I remember all hours the night people called nurse, and my mother used to go deliver baby. And it's funny, she was telling us this story now, which was funny that when before my parents got married, Mars used to live down in Maxwell Avenue. And I remember she said that somebody sent a taxi for her to deliver this baby over Trenchtown. So she went and she delivered this baby, and she walked at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and she walking home. And this young man said, "Nurse, I don't want you walking here." Although Jamaica was by that day by himself, so I'm walking her, and I'm have a guitar, so he might play some music for her, and he must sing some song. And she said, "Nice guy, very polite." She said, "Boy, your voice don't sound, your voice kind of raspy. I don't think you're gonna make it in the music business, you know." My husband, my fiance started building this garage. My dad had a garage at Nelson Road, and my papa probably could see my get up into a job. And Jim said, "No, man, nurse, I'm all right." So she said, "I'm follow her home and make sure she get home." I said, "What's your name?" "Your name is Robert." You know that my mom tell was Bob Marley. Mom said Bob Marley said to become a mechanic. So
yeah. Because I wanted, that's before, yeah.
And remember Bob's voice. Remember the voices we hear back then were more
raspy.
soft.
Yeah.
So, but I think part of the thing that I enjoyed more about Pembroke, like you said, was the family thing. I remember one of my greatest memories ever was, I remember one Saturday, my father had promised us to carry Little Stars to the beach, to Hellshire Beach. And so we're there now. My father come home because he used to work like half day on Saturdays at his garage. And him come home now, but it's like all people who not on Little Star show, everybody want to go to the beach. So what I do is I used to have a little Morris Oxford van. And thank the Lord, 60 Lincoln Taft father come, and my this big old American must say, like one of them big Buick. So like 20 little boys in the 2 car, them go to Hellshire. And I remember that was like one of the best days of my life. It was a Saturday evening. And the car, and there was just, it's nothing fancy, you know, but you and your friend them go to the beach together.
And big
time. And you just have a good time, big time, yeah, man.
Yeah, the first time you probably get a chance to go over the beach and go up on the beach and that. And then time you still like a primary school.
Yeah, man. And it was just, we just had a good time. Because, you know, usually if you go to the beach, you go with your family or your relative.
Yeah.
You and your friend.
Yeah,
and that was just,
And let me ask you something, Carlton, because I mentioned something and I don't want to gloss over it, because how much older was Beck than you?
Beck was like, when I was in first form at Calabar, Beck was in 5th form.
5th form, right.
I think but I started Calabar when I was, because I passed communications in 4th grade.
Yeah.
When I started Calabar, I was like a week before my 11th birthday.
Yeah. No, the reason I'm asking, it is amazing that somebody as young as Beck at the time would have organized a competition.
Yeah, man.
And that just show in a sense the leadership qualities that come out of Pembroke naturally. Because it's not like somebody asks him for to do it, it's not like him have him coaching certificate, it's not like him look no praise or nothing. Him just decide to organize it on him own. A group of youth then and I may say you found that I find it amazing that talk about that now, that somebody that step out, somebody look older than you. I'm not much older than you. Him look older than me as far as I remember. Right? I find that story a powerful story for somebody as young as him, and that was well known throughout Pembroke, you know, where people look older than you organize things for them own.
Yeah, man. It's interesting you mentioned that, you know, because I don't know if them older guys realize the profound influence them had over you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look up at them and say them is big boy to you, and
Yes.
what them say you listen to, and it's not only what them say, it's how them live them lives. Like you say that them organize. I think about it like even you mentioned the point that remember say it's not like say him have any money or not like that, you know, him just doing this totally on his own.
Exactly. That's the point.
And him taking responsibility for them. And we talk about 10, 15 little boys that him responsible for we look up to.
Yeah.
But what was it about Pembroke Hall? Why that happened? Why we had people who really cared about us? This is a nondescript little place in Kingston, right? And still we had these people who they were just creating these giants who really cared about the community.
That's a good question, man. That is that's a very good question. And
it's a very good question, but I honestly think that's because of the quality and the type of people that exist in Pembroke Hall at the time. Like everybody was very family and community oriented.
Definitely.
It's not like I tell Lance, there are other decent neighborhoods around Patrick City, even Meadowbrook, even Daley, you name it. But those people, I guarantee you, in Pembroke Hall, everybody knew everybody on the street.
Yeah. I just going to say that.
I guarantee in those neighborhoods it's not like that. Most people stay to themselves. And that's the difference between having a real community and having somewhat of a community.
Wow.
Because all of us were very close to one another. We all knew each other and look out for each other. It's just like what you say. You give trouble at school and before you reach home, your neighbor already beat you. It's like they say take a village to raise a child. That's how Pembroke Hall was.
Yeah, and that wasn't imposed. That's the thing about it. That's the beauty about it. It was not dictated from nobody above. It was just generic where because you come on now, man, and you remember everybody on your road. You could have named them on either side of the road. Exactly. Yeah. And you leave Pembroke Hall so long, and that's 50 years ago you talk about. They remember them like yesterday.
1980.
Yeah.
1980.
Yeah.
That speaks to the impact of the community and your growth and development.
But you know what, for answer your question now, man, because a film conversation will come out next week, Winston Bennett, and I don't know if you know him, Carlton, Benji.
Yeah.
Benji was a Potosi Rovers original player. Him look much older than we. Because Benji was like 15 years older than we. So I'm a big man for me. Right? And when I had him on about 2 weeks ago, Phil, and if you want to come out next week, I think, 2
weeks ago.
And Benji said when he came, the pride of the people who come at Pembroke Hall taking them come. When you hear the conversation, him talk about, and I never look at him and say, people are moving, remember, I never moved from, your parents have moved from probably Maxi like you, Carlton. Now, man, I don't know where your parents moved from. I know my parents moved from Raytown. And Benji them moved, moved from Boys Town. And the first time you come at Pembroke Hall, so I think I take it for granted, something like inside bathroom.
Yeah.
You live in a yard where you have to go line up outside of the bath. So the people take a certain amount of pride in them house. And it's like, it changed them life, man. That's why I think it's a nurturing thing in a Pembroke Hall but came generic. It's not like it's a dictator or nobody say I have to do this. It was like, that's why it's so special anyway. That is why it's so special. Because I felt the same way. I felt, that's a good go ahead.
I don't know if you remember how people used to take such pride in their homes. Right, that they would paint the sidewalk thing white.
Whitewash.
And the lime on the tree, the bottom part of the tree.
Yes.
And every Christmas, before Christmas come, everybody paint. The house paint, you know? And then your mother put on the one good spread. And maybe you had a lot of spread though, Carlton. But my mother put on the one good spread on each of the bed. And you can't go on the bed, you can't touch it, you can't sit on it, right?
Yeah.
Because that is for Christmas time. And she changed the curtain. And she washed everything in the break front. Everything in the break front wash. Yeah. Boy, that's wild.
Because I remember our living room was just, you don't stay in the living room. Part of it is we always were outside. So you couldn't, because I remember, you can't sit down on the couch. That is when visitors come. And you have the special glass for visitors. You have to use the plastic cup them.
Yeah.
But I remember, but that was so true because I remember on Saturday, our job was to rake the yard, clean up everything. Yeah. You have to polish and shine all the shoes. Everybody have to get ready for Sunday to go to church.
So about shining the veranda.
What that tells you?
Oh, it builds character
Right, but not I told you that no matter how small it was, and what little they had, they took pride in it.
Yeah,
man.
Oh, man. Yes.
That's what that is, because you have people right now grew up in bigger homes, the people got fancy car, but they don't care. It's like they take those things for granted, and they don't realize the privilege that they have. Whereas somebody who has something smaller, they are thankful for it, and they do what they can to maintain it.
True.
Yeah, and those are values that, I mean, it speaks volume, because once you put your kids see that, it will stay with them, and they will know to cherish what they have and take care of it.
Yeah.
But you remember, that I cut my own lawn today, and the reason I cut my own lawn is from Pembroke days. Because my father used to make me and my brother Andrew cut the lawn. Yeah. So and it's a push mower,
I just going to ask you that.
And they use like a machete to edge the side. No, seriously.
The machete and the stick, and if you're not careful, you chop off your foot.
Exactly. And I have to prune the rose bush, and then they had the croton them along the front. And then Daddy would stand up outside when the goat them passing. Because if one goat bite and you croton, I beat you. I have to stand and shoot. I have to run the goat to them don't bite the croton. I mean, it was crazy, right? The things that we had to do as children. It was just wild. It was totally wild. Sorry.
No, man,
we had a soursop tree that, and it was right between us and Wabunga house, and the whole police, and my job was to clean out the gutter, because if the gutter, if water ran up, it would go inside Miss Waite's house. So in the rain, you have to clean out the gutter and make sure that you keep up all them leaves. And I remember, I never climb. I remember one day Mom was fall off at the house stop, because you have to go up on the house stop to make sure everything's good. But part of it, I think, was, like I said, what Henny said about the pride you had in the house. One thing I learned from Pembroke definitely was kindness, because it was like everybody in Pembroke was very, very kind in terms of giving, because they may not have much, but they're not making sure that nobody in Pembroke don't have no food or nothing like that. And that's something that has rolled over to me. Like, you always have to be kind and help out, because you might think that you're struggling, but there's somebody struggling worse than you. And that's one of the things that I always really thought about in Pembroke, like people used to look out for each other. We used to have a band named Mr. Douglas, who I think my mother. I can't remember him. I think he had a son named Leon, because Leon was big in Pembroke football. And I remember beside him was this gentleman who, through Monday, from Monday till Saturday, him cussing pure bad word. I know who him cursing, but on Sunday, he played the most religious music. So we had this big dichotomy. So everybody shut up and then play, but by Monday morning, he started curse again. He used to drive a big bike. I don't know his name. But Pembroke had every kind of person. And then you, as a young man, you have to navigate through that. Because I remember the first time I ever remember being, traumatized. You remember? Do you all remember when Bull, the Rastaman Bull,
they laugh for the bike.
For the bike. Well, and I remember that, like, Bull dead, because we didn't know Bull good. And I remember that I remember for the, like, almost a month, I never want to bathe in the bathroom by myself. That was like the first person I know well they did, and that was really. I think I probably would have been like a second or third grade, right?
Yes.
I mean, I was primary at the time.
Yeah,
that's a long way that for sure.
And I remember that really. I remember Bull and him. I remember the next year I saw him friend. We used to call them Coach Cheese. I remember I said Coach Cheese are crying. That's the first time you see them big man.
Coach Cheese, Coach Cheese we live up at Cane Current. That's why. Yeah.
And that really did shock me. And I remember that is like that. Even today, that's like a markation in my life.
Yeah.
You know what, I can't, and I don't know if it's a dream or if it was a reality. Who used to drive like a Mach 1? And right, used to park like near outside the gate of Pembroke Primary. Like you're heading towards Marvel, but right outside the gate.
Yeah, I remember the car.
You remember the car? Whose car was that?
I don't know. I remember the car.
You didn't move.
Yeah, I know the car you had. It's like a gold car, right?
A gold car, exactly, yes.
Yeah, man.
I don't know why that came to mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
You know, so I think that is Mikey Donaldson's father.
Oh,
Because he had
really?
a gold mark on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may be
Right.
right
All
enough,
right.
Philip. You gotta come up a call because
Yeah,
I
man,
know you.
Mikey Donaldson's father had a mark one. That I used to live at UN then.
Yeah. Who Philip talking about was two people live in front of us. But it's like
Yes.
the father never live at the house.
Just the
Ah,
mother and the
And
two sisters and the brother.
right. I just said that, Phil. I remember the car for sure. I said, you remember the gold? You know the car I talk about, Phil?
Yeah, man.
I remember the car, yeah. Because I remember closest to
It's a
us was
mark one, Ford. A gold one.
Yeah.
I remember the gold car,
I
yeah.
don't know why it was part there. Right? It was just always there, it seemed. You know? I'm sorry, random thoughts.
No. Go there now, man. Anytime. But let me ask you something now, man. Because I'm not so familiar with around that side of Permagal there.
Yes, sir.
Where were the closest shop to you from Annandale when you go for go shop?
We actually had a shop on Annandale. There was a house shop on Annandale.
Right.
Right. You remember that one? When you're heading towards the big field, it's on the left-hand side, right before you reach the big field. And it seemed like a big shop, and I know it wasn't a big shop. It's a liquor shop today. I know that. Right, but to me it was big, you know? And you're walking through the gate and you go up and buy, you know? But yeah, it was a liquor shop. But it was really good. It's where we did a lot of shopping. And I think in later years when Pembroke Supermarket opened up, we'd shop at Pembroke Supermarket.
I remember when I did open there.
Yeah, especially because Pembroke Supermarket would trust your food. So they would trust my mother food until our payday. So we could go pick up the food and the guy write it down and then you go and pay him when you get paid. It was just wild, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah, man. I know.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, go
But
ahead.
if you went to Sunrise Supermarket, you couldn't do that. If you went to Sunrise Supermarket, I used to walk sometimes to Sunrise Supermarket just for the walk, just to go see. You know, yeah.
No, I'm familiar with that supermarket. Mr. Spencer and the name, Phil. We're on the supermarket.
Is that who ran it? I can't remember.
Yeah. I know the supermarket. And then they
Sorry, go ahead.
No, man, you go ahead, Carlton.
I remember later them did build like there was like a shop that made hats near there too.
Yeah, the hat factory.
Hat factory. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
As a matter of fact, Carlton, so the hat factory. I will tell you about this, Phil. Hat factory was on Pontypont Avenue, you know. Before, yes, I will talk to recently. I try to remember.
And Pontypont?
Yes. No, I will talk. Yeah, the last conversation. Yeah, man, hold on. It was when we talked to Alanats. Because we talked to Alanats that a Patrick Kingoton last week. Remember me and Andre talked to him? And he mentioned the hat factory was on Pontypont originally. Before it go up to the... I didn't know that. It was like a house rent out from Pontypont. That was before your time. It sounded like Carlton. So that's what the hat factory moved from the go up at the top of a cane current, right to asphalt beside the supermarket. So yeah.
Right.
I have to investigate that. That's not sound right.
No, Phil, that's before our time. You know what you talk about, man.
The hat factory and Pembroke Supermarket, they were near to Dion Thompson's house, right, Carlton?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dion Thompson, right. I remember I was so infatuated, but I was such a nerd. I thought they were the most beautiful sisters in the world, her and her sister, right?
Michelle.
Yes, yeah. I was like, man, they're amazing. You know, I had a chance to go and see them right before COVID. I have lunch with her, but just with her and some other folks out there. It's so funny, you know.
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica.
Okay,
she's on
Jamaica.
Yeah.
Because I remember the last time I saw Dion is about 86. I remember her when we were at UWI together in 86. One of her, I think her niece or somebody, she got chicken pox. And she got really sick. And she was in ICU for a while. And I remember me and Baron Brissett was in our class. Went to visit her, and she was really, and I think she almost had to take a year off from UWI because they said she almost died because it comes say chicken pox is almost deadly for an adult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They do say that.
Yeah,
man, she was really sick because I graduated in 86 and we started the same time. I think she almost had to take a year off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has anybody on the call kept in touch with Baron Brissett? He's such a nice guy, and his parents were so kind.
Where they live now, man? Where in Pembroke?
They used to live. They're the last street in Pembroke before you get Washington Boulevard. The very last street.
Oh, Anglesey.
Anglesey, yes.
Anglesey,
yeah. You know, it's a greenhouse, like a lime greenhouse. And it's on the heading is on the left, almost on the left.
I think you remember he had a younger brother who died, like a car hit him
Yes, I remember.
on Boulevard.
Yeah, sadly. You know, but such a kind family. Can you go as soon as you go by the house, them offer you food. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, everything with me is food. Sorry, all right, let me move on.
I hear you now, man. Yes, I hear you. But let me ask you something now, man, because I want you to relate a story if you can, I want to. Because I was talking to Carlton, and Carlton related a story to me that when you came here, you almost went through your face death, where them almost pull the plug on you. And and your mother said, no, you don't come a friend for dead that way there. Go through that story there if you can and you want to. Tell us about that story then, man.
Of course, yeah, man. So it was my first year of law, at the end of the first year of law school. And I was going to law school at Howard in DC, but I came back to New York to drive a cab to earn money for that summer. And I was driving a gypsy cab in New York, AD11111. It was a cab company. And I got a call on the cab to pick them up at the hospital, Montefiore Hospital. I picked up the client there. And when he told me where it was going, I said, no, that's an industrial area. There are no houses. He said, no, man, there's one house on there and I live in it. Right? I didn't think anything of it. But the guy, when we turned on the street, he said, slow down, because you're nearing my house. And then he used a crowbar and he rammed it through my forehead, puncturing the anterior and the posterior wall of my head. And so I didn't even know what happened. To steal it was like $64, I think it was. But it was a Korean grocer opening up his store who found me outside on the ground and called the ambulance. And so I was in a coma. And but I could hear them, but I couldn't speak. And I heard the doctors talking to my mom, telling her that, they really should pull the plug, that at best he's going to be a vegetable if he survives, And I remember mommy saying, because mom was this like really prayer warrior, and she said, no. I believe that God has for him to be a lawyer and he's going to preach one day as well, which was the furthest thing from my mind. And she says, no, just hold on a little bit longer. And it was weird because it was a long time after, but I came out. And although my wife says I am touched in the brain, I think I can still function. And I finished law school, right? And went on. So I'm so grateful to my mom that she was a believer and that she actually believed that God had a plan for me when medicine says I shouldn't be here, right? And I shouldn't be here.
Proof that God is great.
Amen.
I'm glad you can tell that story now, man, because it's a powerful story. Because the question I want to ask you, when you were in that state, and you could have say you can hear them speak and them.
Yes.
In a sense, I was going to ask you, were you thinking you had died, or what was your thoughts?
Honestly, I thought it was over for me. I thought it was done because I know I couldn't move, and I know I couldn't speak. I could hear voices, right? But I thought it was really the end for me. I'm just glad that somebody, cared and thought that the impossible could happen.
Yeah.
No, man, did they ever catch the guy?
Yeah, they caught the guy. They did catch the guy, and in fact, I didn't even have to testify at the trial because he actually pled guilty. It's weird. It's one of the reasons why I became a prosecutor, right? In New York, I worked at the Manhattan DA's office for years in part, and most of my career has been as a prosecutor.
Okay. Because of that experience.
Because of that experience. But always mindful, because I believe in rehabilitation. Always mindful that there's no such thing as people just worthless or bad and irredeemable. I still believe that people can be saved, And so that was my focus as a prosecutor. And in fact, we did a lot of what were called, we refused to decline to prosecute people after we spoke to them. We'd bring them up in what's called the Early Case Assessment Bureau. Actually, the person who's been arrested, we'd first talk to the police officer. And then if the story just didn't sound right, we'd decline to prosecute the case after we bring the person up and speak with them. Because a lot of times people are being arrested for. I said, well, why did you arrest him? But for disorderly conduct. I was like, it's just a weird charge, disorderly conduct. What was he doing? So in any event, it was good. It was good that happened to me because one, it sensitized me to the plight of people who are in the criminal justice system. and gave me a real sense of how victims felt at the time.
Yeah. A sense of the other side.
But let me ask you to something though, because it's amazing to me that when you live on two ends of Pembroke, we never go to the same high school. One went to Calabar and one went to JC. And the two one remain friends for all these years. Is it a Pembroke thing or no? Or no remain friends for so long? Because I went to a lot of people with Pembroke primary. I never, apart from one who live on the same road with me. And but I just, well, me and Philip live on the same road, but or no remain friends for so long.
I think a big part. Sorry, go ahead, Carlton. Go ahead.
Well, part of it is that Norman family is just Norman was all right. So among the four of us, I was the least behaved one, and Norman was the best behaved one. So now, when we're going to do anything trouble, Norman I said, we need to think about this first. So you have this one friend who keep you from getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
Norman was the person who said, okay, I think we need to think about this before we do anything bad. Because Norman never get in trouble. I used to get in trouble all the time because I couldn't shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the one who had to give joke in class. And as I remember one time on my reporting class, I thought I was funny. I don't think I was as funny. Because I remember he said, Carlton is a very bright young man, but he's very disruptive.
That's on the report card, yeah.
So, he's too beaten right there.
Yeah.
So part of it is, I remember, it's funny how, I remember when Norman came down to South Florida, and I remember my sister Melanie was in a restaurant, and she said, she heard the voice. She said, that sounds like Norman. And before, so in 1975 or 1976, my mom organized a trip to Disney World. And it should just be the family alone. Yeah. So I tell Norman and Perez and so next thing you know, Norman and family say, can they come with us? And then Norman, so eventually my mom ended up with tearing about Norman like 50 of us.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a big trip. And remember, this is the time, where there no waiver, no insurance, nothing.
No.
So Mrs. Daley carrying all them and she helped people get not green card. Visa
at the time,
yeah, man. So we go and we went to Disney World, we went to Sea World, we went to Kennis.
That's right. That was the most exciting trip of my life.
Yeah, man. But we have the money still tight, so it's like 6 boys in one room.
Yes,
all pack up, Because like all of my siblings, Norman, like most of your siblings plus one of your cousins came too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
you remember the hotel we stayed in Miami? Do you know
Everglades.
Everglades. It's changed now, but it was a drug hotel, right? It's where the drug couriers would go to kind of would swallow the drugs in
the mules,
and then that's where they would go to expel it.
Yeah, the mule and
recover it. That's where we stayed, which was funny. It's hilarious today thinking about it. But sorry, go ahead.
But I remember the bond. And I remember it was me, Norman, and Paul came, and Paul's sister and our cousin came from Montego Bay, and we were very upset that Perez couldn't come. I don't remember why Perez didn't come.
Yeah, I know.
But we had a. It was like 2 weeks. Like the first week we went to this. Remember, because we fly, and this was when we used to have Martin's travel agency. It's a Martin.
Yes.
And we fly from Jamaica to Miami, and Miami to Orlando, and we stayed at so we had a really good trip. So
it was
good.
Good.
But then when Norman came down. And Norman came and spoke to my class at Miami-Dade. Then he spoke at I work with this group of young black men. So he came and spoke at the conference. And all the people them crying. So I think Norman and I we just friends because like-minded and our parents. And Norman is just a good, sometimes God minister to you. And he don't minister you through, it's just people he put in your life.
Yeah.
And people who you say, all right, I want to do something bad, but Norman going to me because God has put some people in my life. So even when you want to do something bad, they minister to you not by what they say, what they do and how they live their lives. So and sometimes God knows better why He put certain people in your lives and certain people not in your life. So Norman is like one of the people I said, let me listen to him now. And I don't know if you know so Norman is actually a federal judge.
Yeah.
So it's big time in us now. So I'm kind of slumming, hanging out with us right now.
No. Pembroke was the high point of my life.
Yeah, but
High point.
but Prince, and so if you think about the people that Pembroke has produced,
Yeah.
and it's a testament to where we came from and how much
Right, the community.
Yes, the community, yeah, and how much invested Pembroke did in its children.
Yeah, but before you go ahead and answer the question now, let me just press Carlton a little bit. When him start with Calabar and you go JC, I want to remain in touch at two different school lads.
No,
and this is before cell phone and TikTok and all of them things that we have here. No, I want to remain in touch.
But first, I used to remember I was a year after I left Calabar. Because I left them at Pembroke for a year, but I would still come back to Pembroke after.
I see me.
And we would still remain friends until we move, and even after we moved, because I think Norman didn't leave until 80, right?
Yeah, 1980.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So we remained in contact. And so it was this kind of lifelong friends that we knew would always be lifelong friends.
Yeah.
It's like I knew parents and I myself would be lifelong friends. I thought Baron Brissett, and I tried, but then people move. Right? And he never left Jamaica. He remained there, and then he moved from that lime green house. And I couldn't. So every time I go to the house, I ask people, and everybody knows him. And I even asked Dion Thompson, but nobody knows him.
Yeah.
Knows where he is. I have to track him down. Hopefully, he'll be listening to something like this and
hopefully hear this and then we reach out and you can get back in touch with him. Yeah. No, it's amazing, man, that you keep in touch and stay good friends after these 50 years. You got primary together. And as I say, the connection made. I live close together, like me and Philip, or you go high school. But for me in touch, that is a special friendship we have, man. And I love that.
I'm telling you, Pembroke was simple. I remember. I don't know if Norman remember this young lady named Camille Ireland. I think she left when we were in third grade. I remember when I remember I was going to marry Camille Ireland. We were going to have 6 children. She was going to become a teacher and I was going to become a policeman. And my great ambition was to live at the top part of Pembroke. And that was a nice part.
Uptown Pembroke, yes.
Yeah, man. So then even then, so you think about how Pembroke shape your life and the things that decisions you make. And I think I didn't have an option to go to Calabar because everybody around me went to Calabar. So that was just the thing.
It was funny, but
but my second choice was actually JC because at the time my sister's boyfriend Simon went to JC. But I remember Calabar was just so I didn't have much choice.
So, but at the center, let me ask that now, man. How come you never end up at Calabar? How that work? And you end up at JC?
Yeah, because all the older guys in my family were JC old boys. So I didn't have a choice.
I got you.
Yeah, you know.
You had to follow the family leader.
Yes. Although my dad is a countryman, so dad went to Cornell College.
Yeah.
You know. And of course, I wasn't going to travel all the way there to go there to school, right?
Yeah, if I move back, one thing will be exactly.
Could
not afford that.
So JC was the and then my grandmother lived in Mona. Okay. So and she lived by herself really. And so after school, my brother Andrew and myself would go over there, check on grandma, and then we jump on the bus and head back.
You can just walk across the street and go back.
Literally walk to her house.
Yeah. Because Mona was like, Mona almost be like those in my Pembroke, you know.
Exactly. It was a housing scheme.
Yeah,
but it's built by the it was this prefab.
Well, it wasn't like Pembroke house them. Because that's another thing Ben to talk about. Pembroke wall them was some of the toughest wall ever built.
Real steel. And
Mona house was more like Duane Park.
Yeah, Mona was more like Duane Park house. Yeah,
it was prefab, yeah.
But let me ask both on something. And you answer this first now, man. As you mentioned Mona now, why I think that a community like Mona developed different than Pembroke? Because I just, in my mind, Pembroke is special. Pembroke to me are the ultimate middle class community ever going to find anywhere in the world.
Right.
Ultimate in terms that there's a mixture and people take pride in them place and it's just a particular type of people live at Pembroke. Whether it was choices or no. But a Mona now it was a little more upscale, but it was me not change my experience at Pembroke for nothing. I won't swap that for nothing at all.
Right.
Why I think that was different in terms of the Pembroke experience and the Mona experience?
Yeah. I think part of with Mona is one, they're more upscale than Pembroke, so people tend to be more insular. But also it was more of a transient community because Mona really catered to UWI. Mm-hmm. So it catered to the professors at UWI, to students at UWI. So it was very transient. So even if you wanted to build a more cohesive community process, it would have been harder to do. But and they were pretty close as well. I remember they had Miss Mona Heights, right? Which was one big event at the Mona Heights Fair that brought everybody together. But it was just something unique about Pembroke Hall in terms of it wasn't a transient community. For many of us, except for the Daleys, right, who could go on the biggest. This was the only house we were ever going to own, right? So for us, this was, so you knew you were going to be there.
And was a much bigger community than Pembroke Hall.
Much bigger community than Pembroke Hall. So I think that's part of what it was, that you knew you were going to be there for life. Because most of the people who were there, they're not going to be able to afford.
No, that is, you know, you're so right about that now, man. Because I never think I can move by Hemdale or anywhere at all. Pembroke Hall was the first and the last stop for me.
Exactly.
but honestly, I don't think any of us was thinking about that, because it's not like a regret living the.
No, right.
At all. No regrets.
Right.
No regrets.
It's an honor to live here.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. As a matter of fact, Philip mother still living in Pembroke Hall. Philip mother still living.
You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
you know,
good.
say the foundation, see me still there. Sister still live in Pembroke
Yeah,
Hall.
man. A lot of them, the elders, actually died here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember literally crying when our parents sold the house in Pembroke Hall. We were living in the Bronx. And I cried. I cried for a number of reasons. One, because where we moved to in the Bronx was a one-bedroom house where all of us were living in this one-bedroom house. I was sleeping on the floor. My clothes was all in one hefty black garbage bag. And my brothers and sisters were in the same position as well. So we were thinking, was this really an upgrade coming to the US?
Well, that's why they tell us to be careful what you wish for.
Wow.
Why leave you upscale out of Pembroke Hall and gone to the Bronx? Exactly.
Yeah, but just see, what he's talking about is like the people who are there in Jamaica now, and they think that America is this paradise.
Exactly.
And then when they come here, the reality hit them. A lot of them regret coming here.
Wow.
Because
So, Carlton, you have any thoughts in terms of say why you think Pembroke Hall different than Harborview or Patrick City across the road or all of them other community where you walk for go Calabar, the one up Calabar near Calabar, Pleasanton, would that be a similar farm?
Via the garden.
Right. Why think Pembroke Hall stand out for you? You don't want to live nowhere but Pembroke Hall.
Yeah, one thing I think one was the people, but I think it was Pembroke Hall had some fundamental institutions. Like the primary school was an important part, not just the school, but a place where people rally around, and so that was one. Then you had the Methodist Church and the churches. The other thing was the community organizations like the football.
Yes.
Another thing that kind of bind everybody together.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things that made Pembroke Hall special. Yeah. And I think a lot of it was also that we had older people who used to look out. Because I remember I used to have this young lady named Mary Wendy Blake. She came to Pembroke Hall Infant Center, and I remember there's this lady. They used to call her Dear Gat. She used to sell some fruits.
Oh yeah, how do you call him? I remember that name. Then called. Yes, really remember that name. There, Dear Gat.
Miss what?
Dear Gat.
She used to sell she used to go like Coronation Market and sell fruit. And I remember Mary used to love play with the cow and walk around.
Where places again, Carlton? Remind me.
It was almost right in front of the football field, like near the gully.
Hello.
Oh, you mean Calbeck Avenue?
Yeah. And she said, she said, if the cow run you down, you puke. Because but remember, and even think about it, we used to have people like you, they wouldn't know when school let out. And you just see some of the grandmothers looking out to make sure the children going home safely. Just looking out to make sure all the children are safe. Yeah, man. And that was the thing, and the part about it were like Pembroke Hall wasn't an insular place. Like parents and big brother and big sisters were out there making sure that you kind of do the right thing and they participated in your life. Because I remember when Beck start Little Stars, all the guys from Patosi Road would come to the game to cheer for us and all that. That was an important thing. And I also remember one of the things I remember most of all was the morning when common entrance results come out.
Yeah.
And of course, the newspaper come out late as always.
Yes.
And I remember waiting on the newspaper and everybody gathered around and making sure that, oh, you passed. So that was, and I think those kind of community things, and some of them are spontaneous, some of them are organized, but I think that came. And the other thing I think was, if you think about the times, a lot of our parents were the first, our parents were perhaps the first real homeowners in the families.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a time when people, especially people who are a darker hue, I should say, owning homes and beginning to take some kind of power in Jamaica. This is like a couple years after independence. So that whole thing comes about in terms of, this is where we're moving up north. So we're moving from Maxwell Gardens, or we're moving from Raytown, or we're moving from Boys Town, or we're moving. And the other thing that I think that, and all you mentioned, is that I think all our parents saw this as a launching point for not only them, for their children. And I think they were very interested in making sure that their children go to school, get a good education, and do well for them and do better than them. It's kind of weird because I live in a society now, especially here in Miami, where I don't see that a lot of parents want their children to do better than them.
Wow.
And I think it's very, very weird because in my job, I work with low-income first-generation students. And sometimes the conversations I have with the parents, which is like, I can't believe you said that. But it's a weird thing.
Yes. But
go ahead, my brother.
Just to interject, that's exactly my point, and you're using that word parent loosely, because a lot of these people aren't parents. They are just givers of life, mothers and fathers.
Wow.
Wow. It's an interesting thing because, and part of it is, Kenny, you got an interesting point. All right, because it's a weird dynamic, and because sometimes a lot of what I bring and talk to students is lessons I learned from Pembroke Hall in terms of working with young men. And sometimes some of these conversations I have, you say like, really? And I'll give you this. I had this young lady, it was in my program, bright young lady, really good. She said, Mr. Daley, my boyfriend needs to join your program because he's a nice guy. I love him to death, but him not. So both of them are working at the same time at Office Depot. And so she bring the guy, nice guy. And she said, and so I'm talking to him, said, and he's the oldest. The mother have 9 kids from 8 different men. And so and he's the oldest. So he and none of the men not really there, as he's like the de facto father. So they, so him coming to school and him doing all right, but him not as bad as the girlfriend. The girlfriend tell him that, listen to me now, I don't intend to be poor. And if you drop out of the program and drop out of school, I'm going to break up with you because I'm not trying to be poor. So she people get a job at the Trump thing but the conversation, and both of them on 2 different levels. Because she's doing well now. She runs, I try to remember, she works at one of the universities and she runs the health clinic because she did health service administration. And so the guys there, I'm doing all right, giving him tutoring work with him now. Now, cool. in about 2014, 2015, here in South Florida, a lot of the Brinks truck them started to get robbed. So his mama got him a job working as security guard on a Brinks truck. So a lot of the older man said, boy, I'm not really like, so he becomes a driver. So he moved from making $12 an hour to $20 an hour. And so slowly but surely, him drop out of school. And the girlfriend, so she said, she loved him to death, but she'd break up with him. So him come to me crying, say, can't believe she break up with him. I said, but she told you. And him say, what hurt him all? When him told his mother that the girlfriend broke up, what the mother said? Good, that bitch is too ambitious for you anyway.
Wow.
So this is a lot of times you see the children and act a certain way, and sometimes it's not the children's fault completely. It's the circumstance that they're coming from.
Yeah, the environment, the pressure from the environment that I'm around, and it
parents,
and we
the lack of understanding the responsibility of having a child and what comes with it. Because I saw this on YouTube yesterday. I actually posted it on my siblings chat. where this lady is explaining exactly what I keep saying. It's like she's telling women to stop owning the man them for child support. It's not that we need money, yeah, but having money to feed, clothe, and shelter a child is not being a parent. That's maintaining the child. Being a parent is being there for the child so you can nurture the child's growth and be there for the child whenever problems to guide them through it and to show them right from wrong. And most people do have no time for that. You know, many times I see people walking with their kids and the kids is behind them and they're walking away from the kid. How could you say you're a parent and do that? Suppose something happened to the kid behind you and by the time you to turn around, it becomes costly.
Because I think part of it is all right. So think about it. When we were growing up, our parents never have no hope of money to show us to buy this and this.
Right,
so you get what you get. So what you get is attention. And it's funny that Norman mentioned that thing about, because one thing I learned about growing up was sharing.
Yes.
Because I remember, not until I go to Calabar and I could buy my own patty that I get a whole patty for myself. It's a for share. So that whole thing about sharing and making sure that your little brother and sister get something to eat and all that was kind of ingrained in us growing up. And so this whole thing, and so you get, and so and those are lessons that you learn and become integrated in your life. So you're always looking off other people and you realize that, and you're also very happy. Because I remember when you have all them children, my parents can't buy me 2-3 presents. You get one nice present or you get some clothes. Are you happy with the clothes?
Exactly. Like for instance, I grew up thinking that chickens had 4 legs because my older sisters, they would each get a leg of the chicken, and then mommy would say, "But you, not myself and my brother Andrew, who Carlton knows as well." He said, "You get the little leg." So I thought the chicken had a little leg too. I didn't realize it's the part of the wing. That means that I get little leg, them get big legs. It's even. All of us are equal, right? Because one chicken was serving for all these people. Think about that. 10 children, mother and father, Miss May, Uncle Toolie, and all of us getting one chicken, eating one chicken, and thinking.
And that's sharing. Where the creativity.
Wild, right?
The creativity of the parents.
So sharing, Carlton, you hit the nail on the head as well. Sorry. So
I think that is something that I think is actually lost today, because oftentimes we, as parents, you try to give them things instead of time. And I think time, because I remember, my parents were busy, but them come to PTA meeting for sure.
Yes.
And so you get things, and then you have your big brother, your big sister, so people there cheering for you, and the people there want you to do well. And I think that is an interesting thing now. And like you said, Glacier and Henny, everybody in Pembroke knew everybody. So and then so Lincoln and 6 of them is not just your friend, them almost like your little brother and your little sister. And you're looking out for them and them looking out for you, and they have your, just like how you used to jump over the back fence, Lincoln back, or so we used to jump over the fence and sit down on the fence. And if Lincoln mother, I remember Lincoln mother used to, remember them oars, the small coal stove? And she fry up some fish. Everybody has eat a fish, And so you might get a whole fish yourself, but you get half of a fish. And we just put together. And that's how that's how you live your life, and you just expect, and that is the bond that you get with all them people. And I think that was special of the Pembroke in terms of. And I think, and I remember, when I was in the institution, I remember Pembroke Primary was so important, because I remember the music teacher, Miss Briscoe, I think it was Raleigh Briscoe, Carlton Briscoe mother. When she have the whole school singing. And all them things. So all those little things, and them have them little. I remember Norm and I were on TV. Remember we did some Christmas play, and we were the wise men. And you have to wear I think we wear like our bathrobe. Right. And I remember, so them little things, and you have like speech festival. So those little things augment your education and give you confidence to say, okay, I can do this and do this. So those things, I think, help to develop Pembroke and develop people in Pembroke and develop us to invest in you, so you feel confident that going out in the world, you're going to be all right.
That is the thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's one of the things I think the Pembroke Primary had some really good teachers. I mean, really good teachers.
You go ahead now, man. Sound like you got something to say.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I was one of the only people who didn't sing on the school choir. Because I don't you remember what Miss Briscoe used to do? She used to line up everybody and make you sing, and the body singing to pass like with her ears. And when she reached to me, she'd grab my body and she'd go back to your class. And that's the first time I realized I couldn't sing because all my brothers and sisters could sing. You remember, God, all of them could sing. So I thought I could sing too. So I started wondering if I'm adopted. But no, I just didn't get the gift of singing. That wasn't my thing. So that's why I had to do act in the play because I couldn't sing. Sorry.
No, man, you couldn't hold a tune at all. You couldn't hold a tune.
Good, not at all. There was no hope.
Because many was in the play because I couldn't sing either.
Yeah. And where was the play?
We did a play. The play was like at school, but then they took us. We had to go to JBC. I remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That Christmas like Jesus.
Yeah.
I think we were the wise men or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't we do that St. Mary's too?
We did that St. Mary's church.
That's where the church. That's why I had graduation. I don't know when I had graduation. From because Primary was over St. Mary's Church. Yeah.
I think mine was at Open Bible, I think. But
Open Bible, that's just my church. This is why I went to church. Yeah.
So, and I think those are the things, and I remember like all them like a festival thing and speech. I remember, I think we had to learn, Revolt of Chief Taki.
Yes.
And decide to fight. I'm tired of being a slave. So all them things still stay in your mind. You remember all them things, man.
You remember Claude McKay?
Yeah, man.
How lovely the Spanish Needle. Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about it that the Claude McKay they taught us in Jamaica is different from the Claude McKay I came to learn about Claude McKay in the Harlem Renaissance and If He Must Die. So those are very different. And I used to say, if this man misses Jamaica so much, why him just come back home? Because all the time it just sound like how much you miss Jamaica. I remember that.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that is so important, like so you have the institution of the primary school, then you have the Methodist Church, and you have even Open Bible, where so many people from Pembroke went. Also, that's important institution to the whole development of Pembroke. So we have some fundamental institutions that everybody rally around, and that was important to us. And I think that also that the parents also invested in those institutions too.
Yeah, because I think the Methodist Church had a youth program as well.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
And the
because
church
I think what the name was these Chinese people across from the woods. And
I know your talk. Yes, I know your talk.
Yeah, they were involved in that youth program a lot.
Yeah, you sleep on Pembroke Drive. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
They live across on the right hand side, going up
across
from the woods.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But it was a lot of establishment in the community that was geared towards uniting the community and growing the community.
And it was what we call these days a multicultural community.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that wild? Now think about this. This little community of Pembroke had people who were Cubans, right?
Yeah.
Originally. They had these Jamaicans, they had Chinese. Everybody you could think of. It was like a UN. It was a UN.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a UN because I was telling Lance to even this man, Mr. Jack, that live right beside the open lot to go into Tree Oaks. He was from Cuba because he and my dad was good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to call him Castro because he looked like Castro.
So
that was unique. That was unique.
That's right across the field from the Triangle, Carlton. Mr. Jack, you see beside the Nichols to them. I don't remember.
His house is right beside the open lot. Yeah, and there's the mailbox. The mailbox was right in front of his house.
Yeah.
Where you drop mail in, and then the post office van come and pick it up. Yeah.
It's funny because you think about it like I didn't even think about like Michael Tola and Beck being Indian.
I know.
No, that was the last thing. No, right.
Yeah,
right.
It was normal.
Yeah, and then down the street from Infant Center, you have the whole heap of Wayne Jones family and the Babu Singh.
Yeah,
a lot of them people, so all them people, you never, McFarlane, you didn't even realize, you didn't think about them being other than just who they, as you, your
just being
neighbors and
human
friends.
beings. We just
Yeah.
each other as one.
That's the beauty of Pembroke. I never seen a difference. It's just Pembroke people.
No.
That's the point.
Yes.
That's the whole point. That's why I forgive you the honor as foundation. Banya Pembroke man.
All right, so Gleason, where were you born?
Authentic Pembroke heights.
Oh, me, I was born in Raytown, I come to Pembroke and I was 2, like 1.5. I came to Pembroke in 1964. Yeah. So I think Philip have some brothers and sisters where me have been born at Pembroke though. So
yeah, my younger brother them born there, but because I was born in Vineyard Town and then we moved from Arnold Street and go Pembroke.
Yeah. And where your people come from? Nah, man, you know what?
I know my mom she would have come from Vineyard Town, but my dad would come from country and come from St. James.
Okay. Yeah. Your dad is a real import or export, yes.
But both my younger brother and sister were actually born in the house in Pembroke, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I remember the morning, actually, like I said, this was my brother's birthday. So I remember it was rain in the morning, and my big brother Teddy take us to school, and we'll come back home from school. The little brother was there. He was actually, I remember, because when we were leaving the school, my mom was a midwife, and one of our midwife friends came to deliver, Nurse Anderson came to deliver the baby. So my brother and sister were actually born in the house in Pembroke.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Which when I tell my children that them almost like born in the house.
Yeah. How that possible? No, yeah.
That's
That was
but it's no different. It's no different from a woman in transit to the hospital here and she water break on her way and police come and the hospital and deliver the child.
Yeah.
Because my mother delivered.
That matters.
You know, the other thing that we kind of hear because of zoning laws, we actually raised chicken. We had our own chicken that we raised in the backyard, right? It's for layers and for eating. Even though we only had one for dinner. It was pretty funny, right? That you actually had your food growing in your yard, right?
Yeah.
Right beside us, Miss Wade had egg. You used to sell egg and chicken.
Yes. Because we used to get egg. The egg them over by a Pembroke, man. It's like some fall in the yard or somebody have like
Yeah.
Free range.
Real organic.
Exactly.
You call them fall like lizard and all them things to fill. Exactly. Yeah.
Cockroach.
Exactly.
Yes, good, man.
Real organic egg them to fill. Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember
No growth hormone.
I remember you said give Aunt Grace, it was Miss Wade, I like all them lettuce scraps and all them things for the fowl them.
Yeah.
When you see one of your friends big, you know them big naturally.
Yeah. No steroid or nothing like that. Exactly.
The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Andre, and our neighbors used to give us the gleaner, their old gleaner. So we tear it up in the bottom of the cube.
For kids with the phone.
Carlton, stick up with it. You know, the Perkins, because a lot of them went to Calabar.
Which one? The light skin Perkins, eh?
You talk Jerry Perkins.
Was the light skin one, and older brother.
Right, and then Andrew and Richard.
Yeah, man. Hulk, the big one, right?
Yeah, right. Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, man.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, man. I know, man, because remember, and then all of them, I think the youngest one,
Richard.
I coach him. Because he used to throw the pole vault. In the pole vault. Yeah, I coach. Yeah, man. And then the younger one, they play football, and I think him did the long jump too.
Yeah.
Yeah, them is just up the road from we. Them never call the captain with we.
Yeah. I even to this day I wonder about, well, I think that's Jerry's in it. Massachusetts. He was in Canada, but I think he's in the States now.
Yeah, Andy, I know him there.
Yeah.
But may I ask you to something, or even Philip too. I got my name just come back and talk about food. You remember the man used to go around and sell food named Foodie?
Yeah, man.
Yes,
man.
I push him on cat and come round and yeah.
Like man. Him and Prince was sell peanut was cornerstone.
Yes, Prince Tom, me talk.
Yes.
I remember him, the peanut man.
You remember the tripe lady?
Of course, Jelly. Oh, you can't forget Foodie. Yeah, there was some people used to think I'm a madman. Like if you tease him, and piss him off, like him a rush with a bill.
Him go with a machete. Yeah.
Yeah, and pull out him bill, a shortcut that and rush you.
Yeah.
I remember
people used to think them crazy too.
No, I just tell about him. I remember Prince Tom, the original Peanut Man. You know him?
Yeah, man.
You know him, Carlton?
Yeah, man, I'm often on the bicycle.
Yeah, you to go on a fan. Remember, the man ride out the whole of Pemba Carl.
Yeah, but
hot peanut.
A three-wheel bicycle him up. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, farmer ride from Walton Park, where him a ride from come up, you know.
You serious?
Yeah, man. Walton used to live, man. I remember after a while, I'd have minibus at Jamaica and I run from Pemba Carl on the 40 road. In the 80s, the late 80s.
So you're a money man as well? You're like Daley.
No. Let me tell you what I'm going to do.
Just put yourself in a spot.
No, hold on. No, come back to the love where parents have you, you know. Listen,
all right.
Let me explain how that story going on. Because my father had a sister who had died, and they had a house at Duane Park, and they sold the house at Duane Park. When my father sold the house. If I rent it out first, I know rent business don't work at all for some people. It never worked for my father. When he sell the house, he get $30,000 Jamaican dollar at the time. It's 1982 when I just leave Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
And we go encourage my father, and I said, Daddy,
I don't cut you. Imagine that $30,000
for buy right, exactly. But them time the dollar
for a house, you know, for a house.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at the value of the money then compared to now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So my father, I said, Daddy, this is what I tell you, the relationship with my father and mother. And I said, Daddy, yeah, man, the house, I said, the man who drive minibus. That time the robot turned official and I get minibus. I get license. And I say, I'm going to make the contact and the link and everything. And the man say, yeah, man, I can't come do this. I'm going to get a license. And I said, Daddy, I need the money for buy the bus, you know. And my father take up, not 10,000 for the deposit, give me the whole $30,000 if I can buy the house, the bus cash. And I saw me get started in the minibus thing and get, until me get $250,000. I was on the first man of $250,000 on the road. I wait him there. And by that time, now the house, I probably call it done pay off. And anytime I want money for borrow, I tell you, when your parents, I just say, no, the parents said, but we believe in you.
But support that dream.
Yeah, man, we believe in you, man. It was not at all, man. For my man, daddy just a sign and just say, you know what, we're doing that one. And because them trust me. So when I go much.
Yes, grab them.
Yeah, man, have them back, man. And that work out good, yeah.
But this man.
Exactly. No. So I wasn't born with a gold spoon in my mouth now, man. Like our friend here on the line here, yeah. But Carlton, that's not what I'm out about that. Where exactly was the father's garage?
So it was in Riverton City on Spanish Town Road. It was right in front of Hardware and Lumber.
A big place, right?
So it was Daley's motor, but actually it was a good thoroughway for the time because it used to fix truck for D&G and what the milk company name again? Cremo,
man.
But then after they build the highway, everything kind of get cut out.
Yeah.
So part of it, but he sold. He died my dad died in April of this year. But he lived a good life. He was almost 89. But he lived a good life. Nice. He was from a place farm in Jamaica called Green Pond. That is not green and no pond not there.
Where that was in Westmoreland?
No, man, Manchester.
Manchester.
Only people from Green Pond know Green Pond.
Nobody else don't know it.
But you're right. No, man. Carlton is setting up because you see the contact them have D&G and Cremo. Two of the biggest company in Jamaica at the time.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's when you think about that valuable contract, because that's a real good contract to have.
Yeah, but eventually what them did was the D&G people and the Cremo people hire the guy them to fix and fire the trunk, and then them created them one in-house. They brought in the in-house. Yeah, and then I took my father guy then. But then, and part of the thing that I was trying, my dad, like hard-headed, because he started out well because my mom came here to work a little bit in New York, and then she learned about, this is like in the mid-60s, when automatic transmission was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So my father came to school in New York for like, what should I have done in 2 years? He did it in like 9 months. He went to school full-time in the day, full-time in the night. Yeah. And he used to be a valet. And then so he learned everything. So he went back. He was one of the first people in Jamaica to start fix them big American car, like them Chevy Malibu and all the automatic transmissions coming in.
Chauffeur.
But then in the late 70s, when we were telling him, so he needs to start get involved in them Japanese car. Now he never want to do it. And part of it, so that's where the fall off. But part of it was that, and then he used to fix a Bedford truck.
Yeah.
In the Bedford truck. And then I think he just didn't move along with the times fast enough. But I think he
A
had
lot
good
of
run.
tradesmen in Jamaica tend to do that.
Yeah. But because he worked at Unimotors for a long, long time. And then he went off and started his own business because it's funny. I didn't learn this until after his funeral that there was a problem with the Bedford trucks where there was a screw that was loose. And then he was actually the one who found out there was actually a fault with the Bedford truck. And him got a big award and everything, but no money. The owner of the company took him down and say, okay, it's time for me to start my own business. And like his parents and my mom's mother gave him the money to start his own business. Wow. Like they said, they didn't believe in his own business. Because my mother was telling me that how my dad and her mother were so close. Like even sometimes he couldn't make payroll, she would lend him the money because she used to have like a couple stores in Coronation Market.
Yes.
And she was actually one of the first ones because she actually bought their house in Denham Town, in Whitfield Avenue, cash. She worked in Cuba and Panama. So she believed in him and gave. So he started, and then eventually, he get some contacts with people. Like a lot of the guys from Unimotors start branching out on their own. A lot of them became big in the company. So he used those contacts as his business. But the same, you go back with parents believing in them children.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Investing in them. Yeah.
Your father sound like him come from an entrepreneurial family without us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that is a good thing. That's a good thing because a lot of families, because I believe in that 100%. I go school, I love school and all them way there. I support school, but entrepreneurship is the way to go for me. So I love that. So let me ask you something though, Carlton. Did your father own the land on Riverton City?
Yeah, man. He sold it just a couple years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
And then, but he was doing, he was all right. He was relaxed. His children were all right. So, and I tell you, my father spent a lot of money on school because it's one thing my father loved was school, boy. Well, all our parents love school. The happiest days of my father was anytime anybody graduated from school.
Yeah.
He used to love graduation, boy.
He loved that, yeah.
Yeah, man. So school, and I tell everybody now. And I agree with you 100% because both my children have their own business. My daughter have her own like a cake pastry business. My son has my son have a little tutoring business that I'm doing really, really well with. I can't afford it. I charge like $50 an hour. So none of him clients look like you and I.
Yeah.
All them clients come from Pembroke, come from Pinecrest and Coral Gables.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but he's good. Like him tutor a little girl on her SATs, and she raised her thing like 300 points.
Yeah.
And then all the other people start hiring him. So, but him serious with it. But he's in school now. But him realize that the tutoring and him, so he does that's well now. But part of it, but that him get because my father was serious with the business. Because I remember. And it's funny when you mentioned that house up in Kirkland Heights. I remember my father used to buy a car and sell a car. And then one day he said, boy, and the reason why I bought that house, the guy who owned the house got scared because this was 1976 and gunman coming in now.
When things start getting hot, yeah.
Yeah, and the man said, boy, I moved to Jamaica, so they want almost all of the money in cash. So I remember my father used to have like 6 different cars. And we will go down to him, sell all of the car them. And we down to one little car, and it was a Valiant, old Australian Valiant.
I remember the cars there, yeah.
Yeah, man. And so, and that's how he actually ended up with that house with that little bit of mortgage because he gave almost everything he had to buy that house because the guy was terrified and wanted to move from Jamaica. I think between the time my father talked to him and it was like 3 months. But that's why I was so upset with the moving because the moving take really, really, really fast.
Yeah, and it never looked like him planning at all, but see the opportunity. Seize my opportunity to move up Kirkland Heights and the father had vision, whole heap of vision.
Yeah.
And because he's an entrepreneur still, and that's the key.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I stopped with him, say, boy, how it's going better on himself.
Yeah, man. And that's what entrepreneurs do. You're betting upon your skill and your ability to do what
Yeah.
you want to for yourself. So yeah.
But listen up, Lance and Philip and Carlton, I'm going to have to jump off here. I have a 5:30 thing with the church.
No, wait,
You
we
know.
can't 2 hours there now. We can't wrap it up.
Yeah.
You realize that 2 hours a day, but before we
I
go.
know, this is so good though.
No, it was the 2 hour run out. I didn't realize. Can I ask if you have a time constraint? Because like, oh, you are the big shot now. I should ask and I say,
No,
oh,
no,
Yeah.
It's church
Yeah,
business. church
right,
business,
Carlton, I should
church
ask him before and I say what the big shot time is. Exactly.
Exactly.
Carlton put everything in perspective.
Yeah,
Philip,
exactly.
don't deal with it, Philip.
So-
It's church business, Philip. It's local business.
Yeah,
It's
but
church
before you
business.
go, just another 10 minutes and wrap up.
Yeah,
What the
yeah.
most endearing memory you have from Pembroke? You first now, man.
What happened? What you say? What?
The most endearing memories from Pembroke.
The most endearing memory for me from Pembroke has to be being over at Perez Cross's house and talking to his grandmother about the revolution in Cuba, and just listening to how fervent she was in talking about what happened, how it was for people who were dark-skinned in Cuba, and the things that happened during the revolution. And I think that, and just how they used to care for me. She treated me as if I was her grandson, just like Perez. There was no difference. If she went and she bought something for Perez, she would buy one for me as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things about Pembroke that I really remember. That it seemed that there were people who cared about me, who we didn't have any blood relationship, right? We were just neighbors with a back fence that we used to jump over. But they cared for me as if I was their own son.
And for you, Carlton, what the most endearing memory you have from Pembroke?
You know, I thought about that now you mentioned, and I think part of it was the football community,
Wow.
and how much those guys influenced me, and how much, because I think about a lot of the sports that in school, but I remember the first time I went to Champs, I went with them. First time I went to Monica match, they took me. First time I remember they took me to Norman Manley games. It was with Eka and Olive. So those guys were like, and I remember I don't even know, I was in awe of them, because them was like the coolest people I ever met.
And a bigger man than for you, yes.
Yeah, man, big man to me. And I remember when watching the Manning Cup match, and I say, Brady, I know Brady, because Brady come to my house, or Peter Atkinson Aki come to my house. And these are people that you know.
Yeah,
and then even think about like Dion Wilmot, Messi,
yes.
These are people that you know, your friend, them come to your house, you know them, you go to their house, I know them playing in the biggest stage, a schoolboy and Major League Football, and you say, them and them, and so you realize that you're a part of a greater community.
Yeah, man,
I remember when even Carlton Briscoe, when he came to Pembroke, Mr. Briscoe's son, to watch us one time, because you were short staff, and then he went to Clarendon College, right?
Yeah, he went to Excelsior and Clarendon College.
Right, and you realize that them people who you take as just regular people who you know, your friend, people you look up to, them is important people in the wider society of Jamaica. And you say, so you're an important part of something bigger than you.
Brand name.
Yeah, man.
So, but before we close,
one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the other thing I thought about is that I remember Monday when I went back to Calabar, people always asked, so you guys have to tell the story of what happened in Carlton League football match.
Yeah, yeah, man. So before you go now, man, any closing remarks, as Ruth should I say?
Yeah, I am so glad that you invited us to be on this program here today. This has really brought back so many fond memories of my early childhood days, growing up in Pembroke, and Pembroke means so much to me, because I owe the people of Pembroke, because Pembroke are just houses, right? But it's the people who lived in those houses who helped to make me who I am today, who cared about me, who nurtured me, who beat me, and helped me to realize what was important in life and to keep me focused and grounded, especially the Daley family, and Carlton's mom, And so I'm just grateful to that. And of course, Miss Scott, who's passed away now. But the love that woman had for all of the students who passed through 5A with her was just incredible. And she was such a gifted teacher.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And if only every teacher in the world was like Miss Scott.
Yeah, man. She taught me to say I can vouch for that. She taught me as well to say I feel the same way. And you, Carlton, any closing remark?
Well, Prince, you know how much I enjoy this because but it's funny because I remember part of it. I remember you even before you, because I remember you being the captain of Meadowbrook cricket team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Yeah, man. I remember when they went Sunlight, and I remember, and Hugh Glass was good friends with one of my friends, passed away named Lloyd Williams, Piggy Williams, who came from Woolmaster, Calabar, and then went to Meadowbrook. But I think this is so important because a lot of people, I don't know if everybody who will hear this, if you're not from a Pembroke person, you're not necessarily going to fully appreciate all what we're talking about. But the people from Pembroke who cope in our times will fully appreciate the names and what happened. Because, and part of it is, it's weird that you mention it now, and can you make it to that? While we're living through it, we didn't realize how special those moments now.
Yes.
And looking back, I realized that these are some special moments and some special people who helped to raise you. And the time that you lived was just, like when Norman mentioned the people whitewashing, white marling, the sidewalk and the trees and getting ready for Christmas. Those are some of the best Christmases I've ever. It's not like a big Christmas, I don't know. It's just it's Christmas and you with your people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Phil, any closing remark before we make Landman run and then I give mine? Yeah.
I would really like to thank Carlton and Norman for coming on. Believe me, it's like every week, but with everybody, it's like you get a special, unique feeling. It's almost like we're back in Pembroke underneath a tree, drinking a red stripe and having a conversation. Believe me, the memories are priceless.
Yeah, man.
And again, I want to thank you guys for sharing your memories with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And both of you, I love both when I finish here, when I listen to the one he did with Brian Walters, because I love all of them so far. All of them, because not only that you remember some of the things you remember, but you also learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know about Pembroke. And sometimes it could be an age thing or it's a geographic thing, but you learn to say,
I can't remember something you never remembered.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, Carlton, I'm glad you made a connection and I connect up back with Carlton Daley and Norman Hemmings. Appreciate you coming on. And don't think you're talk about entrepreneurship because I have a daughter who have taken up your profession. She's in the second year of law school now. So I am not. Yeah, man. She had Colorado Law School. So I might talk to you more about that when the time comes closer.
No problem.
So, yeah.
No problem.
So I don't want to think say I am anti any schooling or anything like that. So yeah.
No, listen, my mother didn't know any better. She was a civil servant, and so she told me get a good government job. That's what I did.
Yeah, man. I want to thank the both of them for coming on back, and as I always said to Phil, I leave these Pembroke thing and the name in the words of the great Baba Fire, and Carlton remember this on the ball. Pembroke. That's how we leave them thing here. Yes.
On the ball.
On the ball, Pembroke. So thank you, the gentlemen, and God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, God bless you.
Yeah, man, cool. Thanks for listening to Pembroke Memories Podcast. And remember to give us all the support you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. A special thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince, who takes care of everything involved in getting the podcast out every week. And without him, I would not be able to do what I love doing every week, having memorable conversation about Pembroke. Thanks.